Hi there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. This is the card that we are going to be creating together with this floral stamp set here. And it's pretty cool. It's got two main flowers and kind of three main leaves, and I'll be using both flowers and two of the leaves today. I have some masking paper from Simon Says Stamp. This is predominantly the masking paper that I use. And I'm just going to take out, I keep all the little scraps and bits and pieces, and I'm just going to use these to create some masks. So it doesn't matter what ink you use at all, and it doesn't even matter if you get a good impression or not, because it's just going to be a mask. So then once you've stamped them all, you need to fussy cut around them, and I cut right on the black outline so that it doesn't leave any space when I'm stamping over top of the masks. So I have a whole lot of masks cut out here, and I have, I think, maybe like 2 or 3 of each flower, and I'm going to use these masks to create my layout. So I had a little play around with how I want them, just to give me kind of a rough idea, and then adding in some leaves around the outside to make it kind of look like a bunch or a bouquet. And then I'm going to take a photo on my phone so that I can kind of remember the layout. From here, I'm just going to use some VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I'm going to heat emboss these with some clear embossing powder. So I'm just going to put the embossing powder on and then heat set each and every flower and leaf as I go. Now, I'm not sure if this was exactly the best way to do it. I never I always struggle with getting great results and things when I do this. So this is not perfect, this project, but that's okay. I'm okay about it because it is a handmade project. So I'm just going to peel off the mask and put it down on top of the flower. Then I'll come to stamp my next little flower, and remember, the flowers that you want at the front need to be the flowers that you stamp first. So again, just pouring over the embossing powder, and perhaps I should have taken off the first mask here, because I must admit the heat did make it kind of peel up a little bit. But nothing too bad. It was all good. So then I'm just going to keep putting down the masks on top of each new flower that I've stamped. So now I'm going to add in the same as that first flower that I used. So the second flower that I did was slightly different to the other two, and then exactly the same process. So every single time I'm just going to stamp it and then add some embossing powder and then heat set it each and every time. Now that I've got my main flowers done, I'm going to do exactly the same process with the leaves, and even though I'm using the same stamp to create two different leaves there, if I just kind of angle it a different way, then it doesn't look too obvious that it's exactly the same stamp set. Now on my project today, I do end up getting a little bit of embossing powder. I end up embossing some of the powder in the middle of one of the flowers, but as I said, this is a handmade card, so it really doesn't bother me that it's not perfect at all. And hopefully the people that I give them to understand that as well. Even though I do try my best, but as does everybody. Anyway, so I have just stamped these last 3 leaves. I have put embossing powder on them, and then I'm going to heat set the embossing powder. I am still going to put masks on these ones, even though I'm not stamping anymore, because I'm going to use some squeezed lemonade distress oxide and cover up the entire background. I am just doing kind of quite a heavy layer because this is a kind of light yellow. I wanted this to be a really nice bright card, so hence the yellow. And then I'm also going to use some fossilized amber distress oxide ink, which is kind of a darker yellow ink, and I'm going to go around the edges to somewhat create a little bit of a darker border. It ends up being kind of hard to see on camera, but in real life it's definitely there. So when I come in with my distress oxides, I add in the darker color like this, and then I'm going to go back again with the lighter color, the squeezed lemonade, and just kind of blend it all in, because you can see at the moment it's a little bit patchy, and here I go with the squeezed lemonade, just making it all nice and smooth. And my little masks, they don't love sticking to the embossing powder. It works much better when it's on paper, but it's just fine. Here's the fun part where you can kind of reveal all and it doesn't look so messy and busy. And it looks really cool when you end up taking off all of your masks. And voila, I have my bouquet, my bunch of flowers. So from here, I knew that I wanted to make this card nice and bright, and I didn't know at all what kind of flowers I wanted to use. I have stamped, this piece of paper that I've stamped the flowers on is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch piece of Bristol Smooth paper. Now the Bristol Smooth paper is the best that I find when using my clean color real brush zigs, and so all I do, and I'm not going to show you the majority of my coloring because I certainly and I'm not a colorist, I do not do well at this at all, and so yeah, I definitely prefer die cuts and stamping and things like that to coloring in. But anyway, I'm just using a darker one and a lighter one, and kind of I do the keep them kind of separate, and then I come back with the lighter of the two colors and smooth it out. So here I just have like a darker blue zig, and then I'm going to use the lighter blue to slowly pull out the color a little bit. And I do have a paper towel off to the side, and I kind of wipe off the color every so often because it does tend to pick up the darker color as you're coloring. So as I said, I decided to go with blues. I had some purples here on my desk too, but I just decided to go with blues for the flowers. I don't know what flowers these are either, by the way, and so I am just colouring them blue because I want to. And as I said, this is not what I'm good at. 100% I'm not good at it, and I'm not confident at it, so I'm not going to show you all of my colouring. And there we go, we're done and dusted with that. As I said, there were a few spots that picked up some embossing powder, and of course the zigs will not stick to that. They won't stay there, so there is a wee bit there that's a bit funny, but not too worried. Now I have this sunshine stamp set, and it says, "You are my sunshine." Hello sunshine. There's lots of awesome stamps in this one that I showed in a haul recently. And I'm just going to cut off the sunshine of this, so it says "You are my," and then I'm going to use the larger sunshine stamp. I'm going to stamp it in my Misty, and just because I have done so much work on this coloured piece of paper that I don't want to muck it up, I'm going to line up my stamp, and then I realise I need to do one at a time because they don't fit together. And then I have this little trick here that I put a spare piece of acetate down just where I'm going to stamp, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't stamp nicely, but I can see I'm a little bit over to the right, so I'm going to shift my card left a little bit in the Misty, and then I know that I'm stamping it in the right place. So that little piece, stamping on that piece of acetate, lets me see through and see the card as it's going to turn out without actually stamping on my project. So anyway, I'm just going to stamp the little "You are my," and I'm just using the exact same VersaFine Onyx black ink, which is a favourite ink of mine, but it's a pigment ink, so it stays wet for a little bit, so you need to remember that you don't smudge it around. And there we go, I've stamped my "You are my," and then the only thing that I am going to do left to this card is add some little Nuvo drops, just for a little bit of decoration around the outside. So I'm going to use the midnight blue colour, which kind of matches the flowers, and that's my card for today. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope I will see you next time. Thanks, bye.